An entire world is ready
for you to start your career teaching the path to wellness.
Mastering the science of mindfulness.
And the art of coaching.
To help clients achieve mental, emotional, and physical betterment of life.
Through movement,
nutrition,
recovery, and regeneration.
Because impacting one person impacts a family.
Impacting a family impacts a community.
And impacting a community impacts the world.
Become an NASM certified wellness coach.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts, here with my friend and co-host, Mr. Ken Miller. Ken, how are you?
Awesome, Wendy. How are you doing today?
I am just doing peachy, no place I'd rather be. So.
Peachy's good.
I'm telling you. Well, today we're really excited because Ken and I actually just got back from Munich, Germany, where we were asked to speak at a Perform Better conference. And we were able to do multiple sessions while we were there and met some incredible speakers, incredible people in the industry from all over the world. And we wanted to share that experience with you guys today and hope that, you enjoy listening to what we talked about as much as we enjoyed being there.
Yeah. And before we move forward, shout out to Nicholas, who
yes.
from Germany, he was actually sharing with us that he's a listener of Random Fit. So Nicholas, hey, it was great meeting you and look forward to seeing you again. And thanks for listening all the way from Germany. Yes,
he was from Berlin, I think. And so when we talk about there's some language barriers, it just amazes me how, especially on this trip, how many people can speak so many different languages.
Oh, man.
And they're very fluent. And I struggle with English. What is happening right now? So
as Americans, we can expand ourselves culturally because
totally. And I will say this talking about the event, guys, I absolutely tried. I literally tried to speak German and had people sit down and say very slowly how to say something. Now, Prost, just so everyone knows, means cheers. And so that was easy for me. But something like Dankeschön, right, is what I would say. That is so incorrect. So incorrect. It's Dankeschön. So then I just learned just to say Danke. So which
just say Danke. Yeah.
But they actually thought, I'm sure we were a hoot when my Southern accent trying to do German was applied so I could say that I was trying to make an effort.
You got another year of practice, before the next time we get out to those parts, right?
Yes.
But the food was amazing. I mean, for those listeners of the Random Fit Show, one of the things is that fitness is international, as evidenced by Nicholas telling us that he, is listening to us already, from where he is in Europe. But I'll tell you what, if we get more opportunities to spread the word of fitness through the optimal performance training model, if we could do that internationally more often, I would love to, do more of what we did as far as trying the food. I had schnitzel 3 meals in a row, 3 days. And the beverages, let's just say, were, they were flowing. But all for the sake of experiencing the culture and the feel. But overall, the one thing that was just overlapping between what we do here in the U.S. and what we were doing there in Germany was just talking fitness and how do we help people and how do we get people to where they want to go from health and wellness and performance. And some of the Perform Better Institute presenters were just awesome. And then just culturally, that was just one of the big benefits of being in Germany as part of this event that we were at. And as far as the functional training summit. So great event and great producers. The organization was awesome, but the trainers were just as passionate as any trainer we see here, as far as wanting to learn more information, just evidenced by the attendance. So it was nuts. It was crazy. It was packed rooms all over the place.
Yeah, but we were actually we were super fortunate because we got a chance to meet people that also came over from the States, and people that you often hear about if you follow in the industry, on Instagram. You've got some big hitters there. So hands off to Perform Better Europe for bringing in, I think, just an amazing platform of people that, to your point, Ken, I mean, when we start talking about kind of some of the different sessions, not only that we presented on, but also what some others talked about, there was so much continuity, if you will, like about what everyone was saying. And it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter if, you know everything about NASM, which we hope you do, but there's so many plug and plays that when people are being very specific on posture, form, technique, systems, I think Ken and I were pretty much the ones that hit home on having a system and having your whys and being able to program accordingly. But all in all, that was the one thing that I think I embraced the most was, going to listen to some of these incredible presenters. You've heard about them, but until you sit into their presentation and you listen to just the passion that everyone has on their topic, but just as a whole, with, again, all of our outcomes is just that we want everyone to move better, feel better, perform better. And no matter what facet of learning you're in, or what your niche is, or what you really want to grow in, I think that was the biggest thing that I noticed. Like, we all have the same goal, and
Right.
I'm telling you, the friendships that we made. I mean, we were there for 6 days, and not only did we,
Wow.
talk, fitness business, if you will, but it was fascinating to learn about other people's structures and businesses. And we met some people from Wales who, they were phenomenal, super fun, multilingual, if you will.
Right.
And got us around Germany pretty well. So I want to personally say thank you to Josh and James from Strength Matters, because they were a great bunch of guys to show us around.
Yeah, and that was actually pretty random meeting them, because they were standing in the doorway of the hotel. We're walking in, they're just standing there looking at their map on their phone, and James was looking up where to return his rental car, which it's like he's going to drive 10 minutes out. All I remember is, okay, you're going to drive 10 minutes out, and how are you getting back? He says, oh, we're just going to walk. And then he says to me, we're European, so we're used to walking. Well, when we talked to him later on, it's like, so how long was that walk on the way back? He's like, it was about 50 minutes, right? So,
yes, right. That was another thing. So those of you guys that are joining Ken Miller and I today, we're talking about being on the road, just coming back from Munich, Germany, presenting at a Perform Better conference in Europe. It was actually the conference itself was called the Functional Training Summit. And, our experience with not just, presenting and the topics that we talked about, but just some of the people. And to your point, when we talk about, James and Josh, they were, again, they're from Wales. So any of you guys that have ever met someone from Wales, they are hilarious. And I just remember the next morning, it was the first morning that I was presenting, our first day. So, I present all the time, but no matter what, when you're in a totally different environment, to me, there's butterflies. And, so there was some little nerves that were going on, and I forgot my clicker. So when you're presenting, you've got this huge screen and you've got your PowerPoint up, and you need your I always call it a clicker, but you know what I mean? What advances the slides. I was super stressed out, called my husband. He's like, yeah, it's in my it's in your bag at home, which isn't going to help me when I'm obviously, very far away. So, these two guys, we randomly met the night before. We're talking about their car. I'm running up to them that morning at breakfast. I'm like, hey, I know we just met, but this is how I roll. Do you have a clicker that I can borrow? And the guys are cracking up, and they're like, you can have whatever you need. What is it that I can do to help you? And I'm like, you know what? These guys didn't know me from Adam. They don't know me at all. And they were so kind. And again, that I think really blossomed into a great friendship. And I know Ken and I leaned on them a lot, especially when we had asked people for just water. How do you get water with no gas, please?
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Water is not easy to come by.
Water, gas, half gas, just bubbly, half bubbly, mineral, no mineral. Still,
yes.
you got to be really clear on what you want when it comes to your water. But because it was warm, we were really focused on making sure we were hydrated. So
Yes.
acquiring water was basically one of our top things to do while we were there. But anyway, with James and Josh, I mean, we've we're still in contact with them right now, but they have they're part of a company called Strength Matters. They have a podcast, Fit Over 30, which I had a chance to download a few of their episodes for the flight home, which was about 11-hour flight home.
Yeah, mine was an 11-hour. Yeah.
Yeah, yours was but funny guys, but with great relevant content when it comes to maintaining fitness after the age of 30. Actually, any age, really, when you really listen to their content. So definitely a relationship we're going to go forward with.
I mean, and we actually invited them on. So we're going to get those two guys on the podcast because we can talk about how funny they are and how great and knowledgeable they are all day. But I think, I think we should bring them on, Ken, and let them talk about let our listeners listen to what we're talking to them about. But I think, again, when we start talking, even with what we've done with Random Fit, we've also, we started, really kind of focusing on what is it that we think people want. And it's like, at the end of the day, what is it that we do? Because, in our industry, there's so many different facets. Because I know they were like, I'm just going to do athletes. And they're like, well, but then I want to do this and I want to do that. So now that they're doing the Fit Over 30, I think is phenomenal. But, again, we can talk about all these individuals that we met, but I think, when we went over, we were trying to find the topics that through NASM that we could really express to try to get interest. So for you guys that really don't know that much about Germany has just, signed a contract with NASM. They want to bring our methodology over and start utilizing it because they really were focusing and really wanting a system. And, what better system than the OPT model that NASM has. And so, day one of the conference, I was able to present. And the first presentation that I did was the Explore the Core. And those of you guys that have either been in my courses, have been in my workshop, I am a true believer that, you really have to focus on the core in order to maximize your potential for strength and power, along with obviously stabilization. And so I think it was the first time that a lot of those attendees really thought about, doing exercises based off of your assessment results and then really identifying what is needed based on any compensations noted. And then the ways that we systematically progress exercises in the format and with the rationales of why we do what we do. And so, we talked a little bit about little to no joint motions. I actually brought up Nicholas, who we just talked about, who listens to our podcast, brought him up and had him demonstrate something like a plank with proper form, making sure that, activation. So abs were in, glutes were in, 5 kinetic chain checkpoints, and really pressing through the shoulder blades for ideal posture. And then doing that for reps, which oftentimes people do it for time. And I think that was a big eye opener because sometimes it's a little bit of tweak that can make such a substantial difference in the way that you do something. So, I really enjoyed bringing him up, but then, after we talked about, starting from some of the basics, then how do you add flexion and extension and rotation? And then how do you add power to that and why we actually build it upon, or build it that specific way. So I think we got really good feedback. I really enjoyed presenting on that particular topic. I think it was the big introduction to NASM as well, just to kind of get a little snippet of what we were going to talk about the next day. And so, so that was the first topic that we talked about. And again, it was Explore the Core. And it was the first time on that international stage, which is different than being on stage to me in the States, completely different audience. And I had to talk very slow because of the translation, even though when I think I'm talking slow, I'm probably not.
Well, one of the things that they do, especially overseas, is that, and when you have, when you're in a host country, what they did for their program was they put the British flag, right, to note that it's an English speaker that's presenting, and then they put the German flag for the presenter that's going to be speaking in German. So that way you can clarify, okay, which language is my preferred language when it comes to these topics. But it's amazing when you think about the amount of English speakers that were there, because you had the center room, Wendy, and it was center stage, and it was full and it was packed. But that's just a testament to show, when it comes to exercises and having a rationale for how you choose and how you can properly progress exercises, it just shows that we all want scientifically evidence-based information. And definitely with your topic on exploring the core, you definitely had your line of people that wanted to expand or extend thought, after you got off stage. So overall, I thought it was a great, of course I attended, but
thanks, man. I at least had one in the audience, guys.
It was me. But I was standing there. Woo, woo, woo. Wendy, good job. Do it again.
Those of you guys that are joining Ken Miller and I today on Random Fit, we're talking about being on the road. We just got back from presenting at a Perform Better Europe conference. It was called the Functional Training Summit. And we, talked about the incredible people and the food and just, being in Germany. But then we also just talked about, exploring the core, which was presentation number 1. But then day 2, we led off with, getting down with OPT, and really, I think that presentation to me was probably the one that I think was the best. I felt more comfortable with that one, I think, because we're really talking about the systems, and we know that is a need in Europe right now, because again, everyone's pulling exercises from so many different people, but they didn't have a system to really kind of encompass all of their knowledge into something that could progress someone with the modalities and the tools and things that they really like to use. And so, that was the same thing, center stage, which was phenomenal. We had most of the people, I don't know if you noticed this, but I did. Most of the people that attended the core one definitely came to learn more about the model as a whole.
Right.
And we got so much positive feedback. Yeah.
You didn't chase them away, Wendy.
I didn't. So
you got them curious.
For me. Woohoo.
Yeah. No, but that was a good one. I mean, that was, again, when you're talking about systems-based training methods, and as we teach through the OPT model, it's just something that, everybody wants to learn. I mean, because you can learn all the exercises and the techniques, but unless you can put it into a format that makes sense and getting people to any goal, which is the title, the model, the training system that we promote and teach is just one of those things that helps people do that strategically. So definitely more conversation from there. So again, great job.
Thanks, man. But then, again, so we talked about exploring the core. We talked about the OPT model. We got a lot of interest, but, as any of you guys that have attended our workshops, or until you've really tried to do some of the exercises with the tempos and the rep ranges and the form that we really try to express over a podcast, it doesn't really come together until you do it. And so our final one that we did was later that afternoon. So again, the temperatures were rising. And those of you guys that have been in Europe, there's no AC. So it was actually a good workout just because of the amount of sweat you're producing, even without moving. However, Ken led that one. And Ken, do you want to talk to us about the last presentation we did?
Yeah, the last presentation, we go into body weight exercises, actually progressions with body weight exercises, again with the theme of being progressions of stability, strength, and through power. But yeah, the temperatures were rising, and the room was getting a little bit warm. So you were warmed up right off the bat. So it was yeah. So again, you're listening to both Wendy Batts and I here on Random Fit, and we're talking about our trip on the road in Germany at the Functional Training Summit. A week ago now. Wow, it feels so. Just yesterday. But anyway,
it seems like.
Yeah, think about it. When did we get back home? Yeah, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. Well, anyway,
No, it's only been a week.
not even a week. Well, I'm still working off some of those beverages that we had. But
I
anyway, it
talking
was,
about
yeah, the
the water.
exercise. Yeah, the mineral still gas. Um, but the exercises, again, going into some exercise like, thoracic rotation, different methods of lunging and squatting, different ways to apply the progressions that we teach all the time, obviously, but without having or without needing any equipment. Because if you're teaching group, if you're doing virtual training, the workouts are going to be limited based on the equipment that you have available. But if I have 20 people, the limiting factor winds up being, do I have 20 pieces of equipment for everybody to do the same exercises? But a lot of times that isn't the case. So what are you relegated to as a personal trainer or strength coach? Well, body weight exercises are the go-to. So whether you're looking at increasing mobility, increasing stability, strength, or even power, what we discussed in that workshop was just, okay, how do we challenge the body with just using body and gravity? So really good workshop. But again, it was just, one topic on a list of many when it came to all the awesome presenters that we were teaching alongside for that 4 days. So it was awesome. But
it was actually a really good time. And I think, one thing that we I felt like our sessions were very different than some of the others, because again, when we went, we had people such as, Bobby Smith. Bobby Smith was actually a student of mine from Cal U, and he was in one of my courses. And so it was actually
Great
really
guy.
awesome to see him presenting on stage. And, his big thing, was really talking about female athletes and injury risks, or things that to consider because of the high risk of ACL injuries that you're seeing in young female athletes. And so his energy was unbelievable. But, again, that ties in so much to what we do as NASM, really looking at corrective exercise and movement patterns to prevent injury if possible, and to strengthen muscles that are often underactive. And so that was really cool to see, because again, without applying just NASM in his stuff, it's like he's really taking what he learned and what we share often and putting it into his business and working with these athletes. And he's super successful. He is based out of the States. And so, him and his wife, she's a physical therapist. Her name is Sharon. And, and so, when we also talk about, guys, if you have to go see a physical therapist, maybe ask them who would who, like if you have some PT issue, who would they recommend to go see as a personal trainer? Because we are building networks, and, you really want to take that physical therapy and then go to the next level, which is now putting it into activities of daily living and human movement, and, trying to get to specific goals. And so it was phenomenal to, I really enjoyed meeting him, enjoyed meeting his wife, and seeing how, again, what we do and the application of what they're doing. It's when I said that we saw so many similarities, that was a big one for me, for sure.
Yeah. So shout out to Sharon. But was it Reach Your Potential Training? The RIPT is their company name, and it was just really impressive to see some of the things he was sharing, not just in how he trains, but the facility that supports their business model. So they have a training facility, but it also incorporates space for physical therapy. So that continuity from rehab to performance is definitely something that you can witness under one roof. So, but great speaker, great energy. Just hanging out with them over the few days was awesome with Bobby and Sharon. But again, it was just,
we need to work on his opening a barrel, but besides that, everything was phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I think he did better than I would have.
Totally.
When you have all those people
when you're on the
watching,
camera side saying, okay, let's see how these Americans do this.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, if you've ever been to Germany, one of the best things on top of the people and the experience is having a cold, because we were really warm, but a very cold beer out of a barrel. If you've never experienced it or ever tried it, it was phenomenal. And so they let the Americans open the barrel, which was actually pretty amusing. Once we have to hit it a few times, they can do it in one try. And you can see.
And then to watch one of those guys do it, he goes, pink. All right, let's go. I was like, How did
And
he do that?
if you're joining Ken Miller and I today on Random Fit, we're talking about being on the road when our experience when we went to Munich, Germany to do a presentation for the Functional Training Summit that was sponsored and ran by Perform Better Europe. And again, we talked about our presentations, what we did, which was explore the core. We talked about the OPT model and putting everything into a system. We then applied it. So we were able to do some body weight exercises and did, an entire hour of working out without having to have equipment and showing how amazing it can be done when you slow things down and you actually work on your form. Again, we keep talking about the amazing people, but I have to say that one thing that I really enjoyed was just the amount of education, the amount of tools, and there was never any pressure. Like, this is how you have to do something. It's like, listen, learn this stuff and look at how things, like what you're seeing, and then what can you do to make it better. And so I think, like I said, everyone's philosophies and methodologies with these presenters were incredible. And I know, Martin Rooney, those of you guys that don't know him, he actually opened up the summit, and his amount of energy, and he was really talking about having your support system and being energized and making sure that the people around you support what you do. Because again, at the end of the day, it's really hard to be a trainer. For those of you guys that have never been a trainer, it's difficult. We work all different types of hours. There's a lot of different demands. Physically, we have to show everyone how to do something. And then, make sure too that we're always upbeat, because no one wants a downbeat trainer. Someone that's had a bad day and is in a bad mood, you don't want to walk into that. So I thought he did a phenomenal job of really just bringing in the energy as well, just to get everyone pumped. And he was an English speaker, so it was easy for Ken and I to follow along.
Yeah, no, well, it's hard not to with all that energy. It doesn't matter what language you're speaking, but he did throw in some German in his presentation just because he's had
way better than I did.
well, that goes for anybody, Wendy, really.
But he's been doing it for 15 years. He said he's been on this circuit, y'all, for 15 years.
No, but his company is called Training for Warriors, and he's got facilities all around literally all around the world. And again, and you see why when you have a chance to meet those that are a part of his, the chain of Training for Warriors facilities around, and the passion that they all share. But again, that was the main theme for his topic, was for that presentation, was just culture. Starting from home, you bring it to work, and how do you facilitate it? How do you foster it? How do you grow it? Great theme. But I think, kind of stepping back a little bit and looking at the whole event and what the presenters are doing. A lot of people don't realize that as educators, as presenters, one of the things that we love to do is to watch other presenters, other topics. And one of the things, and Wendy, I'm curious to hear what you think about this, is that, it's not like 10, 15 years ago when you would watch a conference and somebody saying something and then somebody else is saying something else. I didn't feel that, and I didn't see that. It's just, when it comes to performance and moving better and feeling better, we might be presenting different aspects of it, but everything kind of gels if you want to take the lens of, let's say, Kelly Starrett and Juliet in their presentations, right? Mm-hmm. So when Kelly was, who's the author of Supple Leopard, great book if you don't have it as part of your library. But one of the key things I pulled from him is, if you can't breathe in a position, you don't own the position. So when we talk about movements and exercises, if you can control and breathe through a certain posture, or what they call shapes, do you really own it? Is it something that you can really control? But to kind of, put that thought together with other things that we learn, it's like, we talk about exercise and strength and intensity, but can you control it? And he's coming about, I think the title was Breathing 2.0. So he's talking about the importance of breath, which is like, just right. Just my mind was blown when it came to.
Wait, you mean it's more than just in and out?
Yeah, it's more than just, do the lunge and come back. It's like, if you get into the lunge, can you control it? Can you breathe it? Can you, so, you take him and Don Saladino and, the different presentations, you just kind of take these different aspects of what they were presenting, and you kind of, as I was rewriting my notes, and yes, I am one of those people that rewrites their notes to, to look at, do I really understand it, or what questions might come from it? But to be able to take all of that cumulative information, there was no really conflict. There's no like, he said this, what do you think about that? Because it's opposite of what you said. We're not seeing that anymore. So as a presenter, it's just great to see that this industry has been able to gel information, and people are making, spreading the word based on not just what they feel or what they like to do, but what evidence has shown and what science has shown. So, that's one of those things that I love about going to these conferences today, because before it's like, I can imagine as a trainer, you just get confused.
Well, I did. I mean, I remember, again, 20 years ago, when I would go onto the, different circuits and go see some of these, presenters, you've got one guy over here saying, this is the only way to do an assessment.
Right.
And if you don't do it my way, and you don't get my book, and you don't do this, and then it's wrong. And then you would go to someone else's presentation, and it was such a big conflict. And it's like, but no, you need to buy my book over here. And so, I mean, I literally called out a presenter where they said, who do you work for, and why are you asking me these questions? And literally met them at a bar afterwards and asked, why are you guys doing this? And the question was, well, why wouldn't we? Because we want to sell things. And so that to me was one of the reasons I wanted to be a presenter, was because I have nothing to sell other than I want people to be educated. And I think now that's kind of what we're all coming around. Yes, people have books and everything, but to your point, when we listened to Kelly, he was amazing. He talked so much about corrective exercise and so much about range of motion, just like we do with our mobility assessments. And so there was so much information there that, again, like to your point, it all meshed so well. And, certain people are doing these type of assessments, but guys, as we said, any assessment is good because you're not assessing, you're guessing. And so, I think my big key takeaway, and the one thing that I enjoyed probably the most, again, the food was phenomenal. Beer was excellent. Water, once I realized how to order it, it was, I cherished every bottle of water that I had. But again, I think the education that we're seeing just globally is one that it actually opened up my eyes to be like, we're finally there. Like, we finally are there where we all can sit at the table and there's no friction. If anything, we're making friendships, and then we're growing from one another in order to make ourselves better, to spread the education across the world.
That's right. You got to just love is holding hands.
Yeah.
And I'll say the same. I mean, it is about the relationships and understanding where people are coming from, what are their pain points. And you realize that when you talk to people, whether it's personal trainers or other presenters and things and a lot of them are practitioners, we all have the same pain points, and we're all trying to solve the same problems of, how do we get people to move and feel better? So overall, I thought that the Germany trip just basically did not disappoint. I'll say that. Plus it was another, 5 days. You and I got to hang out, face to face versus, virtually.
Yes. And again, we want to say thank you to NASM for letting us go, but also to Perform Better Europe for the invitation. It was a very incredible experience. And we really do hope that we do get invited back again. And Ken, as always, it was great spending time with you. Matt, who also went with us from NASM, it was great to spend time with him as well. I'm looking forward to hopefully doing it again next year. So
me too. All right. So for those of you who sat here and listened to us about our trip to Germany and the Functional Training Summit, thank you so much for listening. Now, moving forward, if there's other things that you'd like to hear us talk about, please like, follow, subscribe, and comment, and let us know what we can do to help educate you more on the fitness subjects that you want to learn more about. So until next time, everyone, take care and be well.